Welcome to a V-EB06 rulings video. Bushiroad Japan has issued rulings for the V series' final Psyqualia Zombie Arc booster set because reading is hard while putting on face paint on your forehead. Let's begin. Can I get the continuous abilities of Messianic Lord Blaster, Blaster Arrow, Blaster Rapier, Blaster Javelin, and or Blaster Dagger if some of the 6 blaster units on my field have the same names? No, you cannot. Each of the 6 blaster units on your field must have different names. Will Messianic Lord Blaster get the original power and crit of all your rear guards if you called a blaster unit using his auto ability during your drive check, thus giving you 6 blaster units with different names? Yes, you will. Continuous abilities are applied immediately once you meet its conditions. Can I use a blaster unit's on place auto ability during my drive check if it was called by Messianic Lord Blaster's auto ability? Yes, you may. Call the blaster unit revealed on your drive check and resolve any auto abilities put on standby before proceeding to perform your next drive check or your opponent's damage check. Can Dragonic Overlord the Great stand itself using its ability, even if I don't have a Dragonic Neoflame on rear guard to stand? Yes, you can. You do as much of the skill as possible. Can Perdition Dragon Dragonic Neoflame be called from my drop zone using Dragonic Overlord the Great's ability? No, it cannot. Overlord the Great can only call a card that's exactly named Dragonic Neoflame. Can I choose not to call a card from hand if I use Azure Dragon's ability to draw a card? No, you cannot. You do as much of the skill as possible. Can I use the auto abilities of a unit called by Azure Dragon's ability? Yes, you may. On-place auto abilities can be resolved before you declare an attack with that unit, and on-attack auto abilities can be resolved even if it's not the battle phase. Can a unit called to the back row by Azure Dragon's ability attack the opponent's Vanguard on the main phase? Yes, it can. It is attacking due to Azure Dragon's ability. What happens when you call the unit with Azure Dragon's ability that prevents itself from attacking? It cannot attack, and Azure Dragon's ability ends. Can I boost the unit called with Azure Dragon's ability when it attacks on the main phase? No, you cannot. The called unit is attacking due to Azure Dragon's ability. What happens when the opponent's Vanguard with a crit of 0 or negative value attacks your units? Even if that attack hits your Vanguard, you will not take any damage because that attack has a crit of 0 or less. But if the same attack hits your rear guard instead, it still gets retired like normal. Does Brant or Brantringer's ability also applied to trigger checks being gotten outside the battle phase? Yes, it will. However, getting a critical trigger outside the battle phase will not reduce their Vanguard's crit because it only lasts until the end of the battle it attacked. There's no battle happening at that time, thus their Vanguard's crit will not be reduced. Can Brant or Brantringer's ability change a stand trigger's effect? No, it cannot. Stand triggers are not specified on their ability. Additionally, regular Brant also cannot change draw or front triggers because it isn't specified on its ability. What happens when my opponent has less damage than me and they get a heal trigger on their drive check while under the abilities of Brant or Brantringer? Your opponent would still take damage regardless, and they will perform a damage check before doing anything else. Triggers from that damage check will also be affected by Brant or Brantringer's ability. Can Arcsaver Dragon's auto ability call a face down blaster unit in the damage zone? No, it cannot. Face down cards in the damage zone don't have information, thus it cannot be verified if that card has blaster in its name. Can I add Arcsaver Dragon to my hand as a grade 3 unit when performing a G-assist? No, you cannot. G-assist only looks at the cards from the deck. Arcsaver is only considered as a grade 3 unit while on Vanguard or in your hand. Can I use Dragon Full Armored Buster's auto ability to search the top 7 of my deck for an Overlord unit, even though I did not get to retire an opponent's rear guard? Yes, you may. You do as much of the skill as possible. Can Dragonic Neoflame use its ability on a Dragonic Overlord the Great on rear guard? Yes, you may. It only requires Overlord the Great to attack. It doesn't mention that it has to be on the Vanguard circle. Until when does the 5k power and extra crit that Dragonic Neoflame gives out will last? It only lasts until the end of that one battle that Dragonic Overlord the Great attacked. Can Dragonic Neoflame use its ability on Perdition Emperor Dragon Dragonic Overlord the Great? No, it cannot. Neoflame can only use its ability on a card that's exactly named Dragonic Overlord the Great. Does Star Hulk Letter Luck get 10k power every time you drive check a Star Hulk unit? Yes it will. It is not limited to once per turn. If I did not bind the top card of my opponent's deck, after viewing it with Star Hulk Letter Luck or Star Hulk Jukas's ability, where will it be placed? It will remain on top of your opponent's deck. Can I choose not to retire with Fire Age Dragon's ability in order to gain an extra crit? No you cannot. You do as much of the skill as possible. Can I take the same Megaton Power Don that got retired on rear guard? Yes you may. Can I use Megaton Power Don's ability even if it was retired due to calling a new unit over it? Yes you may. The act of moving a card from rear guard to the drop zone is considered as being retired, even if the action that caused it doesn't state retire. Can I use Megaton Power Don's ability if it got retired then bound by a card like Voltage Horn Dragon? Yes you may. However, you can no longer add that same Megaton Power Don because it's no longer in the drop zone. If 2 copies of Megaton Power Don got retired at the same time, can I use both cards' abilities? No you cannot. You can only use one of the 2 Megaton Power Don that got retired because resolving the first copy would prevent the second copy from using its ability. Can I use Black Tortoise's ability to attack the opponent's Vanguard on the main phase, even if it's in stand position? Yes you may. You do as much of the skill as possible. Can Black Tortoise on the back row use its ability to attack the opponent's Vanguard on the main phase? Yes it can. It is attacking due to its ability. Can I boost Black Tortoise when it attacks on the main phase? No you cannot. Black Tortoise is attacking due to its ability. What happens to my third or subsequent drive checks this turn if I have a Pathfinder of Wind on my rear guard while my opponent has Decadal Automata on their rear guard? Pathfinder of Wind's ability will take precedence due to player turn priority. You may soul charge the triggers before Decadal Automata's ability can resolve. Does Decadal Automata only discard the third drive check of my opponent on their turn? No it does not. All trigger units on your opponent's third or subsequent drive checks on their turn will all be discarded. Does multiple copies of Decadal Automata stack? Yes it will. Your opponent's Vanguard will get an extra drive check per copy of Decadal Automata on your rear guard. Does Decadal Automata count my opponent's overall drive checks that turn? Or does it reset counting every time their Vanguard attacks? It counts the overall drive checks that turn. Because the skill doesn't state it last until the end of battle, but rather the drive check of each turn, hence why it keeps counting. Does Decadal Automata's ability of discarding the third or subsequent drive checks of the turn also affect the owner of the card? Yes it will. What happens if I use Chimera's ability while my opponent's field has 6 different blaster units including Blaster Arrow? Since Blaster Arrow prevents you from selecting any of your opponent's blaster units, you get to retire all of their rear guards. Does my opponent need to intercept first before they can do any other actions when I use Jet Shaft's ability? Yes they must. They can do other actions like normal guarding or G-guarding after they intercepted with all possible units. During the guard step, I intercepted with all of my grade 2 units due to my opponent's Jet Shaft's ability and then somehow superior call a new grade 2 unit to rear guard. Do I need to also intercept with that newly called grade 2 unit? Yes you must. You intercept as much of your units as possible. And that concludes this V-EB06 rulings video. Be sure to subscribe and let me know in the comments how Arc Saver got nerfed and V-Royals still don't have counter charges.